No, I am not saying that these two situations put together form a dilemma. I am saying that there are individual dilemmas for each of these two situations. It's kind of funny. We've been making videos all day about twos, pairs, talking about two things from different teams. Montreal, we saw Paling and Primo. Detroit, we saw Seider and Veleno. Now, today we're talking about Pettersson and Green for the Canucks. But this indeed is something that probably is the biggest story in Canuckland right now, and it is something that I kind of haven't really spoken about before, because it's not really all too much of a big topic in my opinion. Like, I get that people like talking about Travis Green and his contract extension and talking about the hypotheticals as to whether or not we should be worried or not, but Clay Emu said this in one of his previous videos. It's not a matter of if Travis Green is going to get re-signed, it's a matter of when. Because there's no way the Vancouver Canucks don't sign Green, right? Right? Even going into next season, it's kind of difficult to envision an actually working, properly oiled, functioning machine when the guy at the top, the head coach, does not have job security for the year after. It's kind of weird to discuss, and it's kind of weird to think about, so just in my mind, it would be very, very much more likely to predict the outcome of Travis Green getting a contract extension sooner rather than later. And as for Elias Pettersson, well, this was only a talk that has been discussed in the previous few days, so we have a whole bunch of stuff to go over with that. But going back over to Travis Green, because I did want to focus on this a little bit more, just in case you're not aware on what exactly is the situation going on with Travis Green, that's just pretty much it. He's a guy who's coming into his last year of his contract. The last year he has signed for is 2020-2021. After that, he will be a free agent, do you call that, for head coaches? I don't know what the term is, but pretty much he doesn't have job security for after that year, meaning that the Vancouver Canucks have to re-sign him. However, according to Pierre LeBrun, once there is more clarity on what the season and the business of the game looks like, the Canucks will turn their attention to negotiating an extension for Travis Green, which means that, you know, the fact is, there isn't any certainty with this stuff. We don't know when the league is coming back. We don't know when the NHL is going to come back. We don't know how many games are going to be played. We don't know where they're going to be played. So the Vancouver Canucks are waiting. They're waiting for that stuff to be confirmed, and then afterwards, once they have their financial layout on what things are going to be like, if they're going to be fans or not, an accurate projection as to how much money they're actually going to be making, that's when they'll say, okay, here you go, Travis, get your money, sign this contract, we're going to bring you back. So it's a pretty baseline idea. Like, they're just waiting for it to happen. And I know that there have been some people in the media, some people on Twitter who have been making this a bigger deal than, in my opinion, it really is. And I get that there is some form of valuable discussion to be had there when talking about the hypotheticals. Okay, what if he doesn't re-sign? What if the Canucks have to go with somebody else or whatever? I get that there is some thought-provoking nature to that discussion, but I just don't even buy it, man. Travis Green is... this is the part of the video where we talk about Travis Green and what he's done. He is the guy who pretty much dragged the Vancouver Canucks out of this, I don't want to say hellhole. Hellhole is probably not a great word to use, but hellhole. Let's say it like that. Willie Desjardins was a guy who previously used Lyndon Vey as one of the best centers on the team. He was on the power play, he was getting first-line minutes, he was getting offensive zone starts everywhere. We kind of knew that Willie Desjardins' coaching, deployment, and overall strategy was just kind of whack after the first year where we saw the Vancouver Canucks actually make it back into the playoffs. However, Travis Green came in here with a system that allowed some of the guys who were good to play well. Henrik and Daniel were going to be Henrik and Daniel regardless, so we're not going to talk about them, but the BBB line when Travis Green was first here. Besser, Bo, Baertschi, ooh, amazing. Brock Besser was the best rookie we had seen since Pavel Bure up to that point. Until we saw Pettersson and Hughes the next 2 years, but let's not talk about that. Sticking to Besser, he was a guy whom Travis Green did not give the keys to the car to right away. He was like, okay, no, we're going to scratch you for the first few games. You're going to have to earn your minutes. Once you earn those minutes, that's when we're going to give you the free reign to go out there and play according to how well it is you work. And eventually, Besser did that. He was scoring goals like crazy. Once the BBB line was broken up, we saw a crazy performance from guys like Thomas Vanek, Sam Gagner, and Besser. I think they combined for like 12 points in one game against Chicago. It was something crazy like that. I remember that game very well. But as the years went on, Travis Green just got himself a better team with Petey and Hughes still instilling the values that he had as a coach early on and allowing these guys to play to their strengths, play to what's appropriate for their overall position and their capabilities on the team, and actually use players to I would probably say the best of their ability. Like, Louis Eriksson, I think on paper, is not a top 6 player. But when Eriksson is playing out there with Tanner Pearson and Bo Horvat, that's the shutdown line, man. That's the line that's scoring all the empty net goals every single game. For some reason, it works. And Travis Green allowed that to happen. You know, I don't want to make it seem like, oh, the players are only talented because of Travis Green. That's not the case here, but Travis Green is a good coach, and we have seen him display these qualities over the past few years, so I think just the natural move would be to keep him, and I think anybody who watches this team can agree with that. Let's go over onto this Sportsnet article over here. It was published over here by Ian McIntyre a few days ago, talking about what exactly Travis Green's own philosophy and personal, let's just say, idea, status quo of the team is after all the free agent stuff that we saw. There were a few very good quotes over here. They talk about Jacob Markstrom, they talk about all the players leaving, they talk about what it's like as a former player to be the bench boss, watching the uncertainties with the league and all that. But one of the more, let's just say, hot answers, I guess. That's the best way to put it. It's a hot answer over here. This kind of went viral on Twitter over here. Let's say you've got Holtby for Markstrom and Schmidt for Tanev, but without a replacement for Toffoli, it looks like on paper your team took a small step back from the end of last season. Do you agree? And he says, I try not to get too wrapped up in that. At the end of the day, you've got to go out and just do it and perform. If I go back to the start of last year, someone asked me if I thought we could make the top 20 teams in the league because no one was picking us to be in the top 20. My answer was the same. I'm not worried about expectations from others and where they think our team will finish. We'll push our guys to be the best they can be. I've talked about it for 3 years. We want to continue to push and build towards winning a Stanley Cup in Vancouver. It's a daily process that gets you there. You don't get into that playoffs on day one, and you don't do anything on day one except get better. Then we had ourselves another tweet over here. This is from Taj talking about what exactly Green said about being the coach in Vancouver. Take a look at this. I love this quote over here. I'm not looking to coach another team. I want to coach in Vancouver. When you ask me if I want to stay in Vancouver, of course I do. It's not even a question in my mind. I can't imagine winning a Stanley Cup in any city but Vancouver. And I love that attitude. Let's go over onto Elias Pettersson, because earlier on it was noted on a very nice article on The Athletic by Rick Dhaliwal and Thomas Drance that the Vancouver Canucks have yet to begin substantive extension talks with Elias Pettersson. We're here on an article on The Score because The Athletic is paid for content, but Jim Benning said earlier in November that the pandemic is currently affecting the Canucks' financial flexibility when it comes to awarding head coach Travis Green a contract extension. The same could be said about Elias Pettersson, who could easily reach over $10 million next season, with the left-handed shooter averaging .92 points per game across his first 2 NHL seasons. Yeah, we kind of know all that. You know how good Pettersson is if you watch this YouTube channel and if you watch the Vancouver Canucks, but this is kind of where that dilemma comes in, because the first dilemma with Travis Green, it was all about the money. It was all about, okay, we don't know what's going on with the league, therefore we can't really give a certain amount as to how much we're willing to pay you. As for Pettersson, this is kind of the dilemma over here too. Do you go for an all-in contract right now? You say, okay, Elias, we're going to set you up for life here. We'll go 8 years. We'll give you, I don't know, $11, $12 million. Do you do that and guarantee this guy $12 million AAV for the next 8 years, with the flat cap still instated, with the fact that you don't know how good he's going to be in the future? He's probably going to be good, but on the off chance that he isn't, there is a very interesting discussion to have there. You love seeing guys get locked up long term, but we've seen more and more bridge deals become the norm here in this league. Same thing happened with Brock Besser. We signed this guy to a short-term deal. Do you see the same thing with Elias Pettersson? Do you see the same thing with Quinn Hughes, who also is up later this upcoming offseason as well? That's a completely other discussion there. But for Elias Pettersson, do you hold the floor? You say, okay, we'll give you 3 years, we'll give you $7 million. How is that, Elias? Or if you want to go long-term, we'll give you 12. But there is indeed a little bit of a different financial picture that comes over with the team when you discuss these different contract ideas, and that indeed is the dilemma. Furthermore, do you wait until after the season to sign him, or do you do it right now? What if Elias Pettersson goes out there, he breaks the scoring record, he gets 90-something goals, he gets 230 points in the next season, and then you have to sign into a contract? What do you do then? The philosophical argument as to what you do at that point, whether you go long-term, whether you go short-term, whether you go bridge deal, whether you go 15 AAV or 7, it gets even crazier if Elias Pettersson goes out there and has an amazing year for 2020-2021, which is possible. Now, I don't want to say the Gretzky numbers are possible. That's not possible, but who knows? 90 points, 95 points, 100 points, is that possible? I don't want to say it's impossible for Elias Pettersson. This guy's an absolute machine. So there's a whole dilemma there on what Elias Pettersson is capable of. I kind of rushed through that because we're at the end of the gameplay here, but talk to me in the comments what you think about the dilemmas for Travis Green and Elias Pettersson and their contract extensions. I hope you enjoyed this video. So that's Trolls 99, and bye.